Hello, welcome to Conversations on NTA Network. You know how we do on Conversations. We talk about issues that affect you and me. My name is Nike. I have Lizzie in the studio.
You would have allowed me to introduce myself.
Lizzie, introduce yourself.
Don't mind me.
How are you doing?
It's nice to be in the studio, actually.
Great to see you. Great to have a conversation with you today. In a previous episode in the Conversations room, we talked about GMO foods. Now, we had quite a bit of feedback from you out there about how GMOs are perceived out there. It was really great. I liked the experts that came in with different perceptions. It was truly awesome. But today we'll be focusing on organic feeding, organic foods, organic farming, the whole 9 yards. I know you are a homegrown person. You like gardening. You're that kind of person. But it can be a bit difficult, especially when you live in the city.
Yes, but I want to believe that the other people who will be joining us later will be able to teach us how to plant, within our apartments for people who are living in high-rising buildings.
Yeah.
I am told, and I actually practiced a little bit, even though some of my flowers died recently. I wasn't happy. I tried to plant broccoli, cauliflower. I don't know if it's the weather or not, but when they come in, they will help me answer that question. They all died, and it was expensive buying them.
Okay, so what have you planted and harvested that was very successful for you?
Oh, a whole lot. My curry. Yeah, the curry leaf.
Oh.
And you know one thing about the curry, I like it because in the evening or early mornings, you come out, the wind has this way of bringing out nice aroma from it. Even when you're not hungry, if you have the mint leaf, the curry leaf, the blend, and has this way of opening your intestine, ready for the breakfast thing.
Oh, wow.
And I also have done a lot of water leaf.
Okay.
Water leaf, that one, it's amazing. Even when you say, okay, I'm done with you. The water leaf tells you I'm not done.
Yeah.
Because the flowers, pour back into the containers.
Okay.
And somehow, even when you haven't planted anything, they have a way of
keeps
growing
coming
right
out
back.
again.
And sometimes you think they are dead. It takes only small water.
Okay.
The whole thing springs up.
How do you stop yourself from wanting to use like fertilizers just to get more? I mean, I don't know how much of the water leaf you plant that actually is enough. Is it enough to feed your family? Or do you tend to want to keep it strictly organic?
Okay. You're asking me as if I'm an expert. I'm not an expert, but I'll answer you.
You're a gardener.
All right, so my water leaf, a lot of times I have had to go to people who are caterers to beg them to come and take some. That's because it spreads.
That many?
Yes.
Wow.
And when it's well fed, that's me thinking, it blossoms real beautifully. You want to even take pictures around it anyway.
Oh, wow.
So what do? It saves me dual purpose.
Okay.
For one, my kitchen debris, I don't get to block my sink. So I don't even have need for plumber much because my sink is always open.
Okay.
The food, when the family is done, we clean out the leftover on the plate,
Okay.
Into a different place, the bowl. Then rinse out the water into the same bowl.
Okay.
So all of that go into the containers.
That's a really good system.
So they decompose. So I really don't, it's like nothing is a waste.
Wow.
Nothing is a waste.
You're the first person I've met that actually does composting. I don't think I've met anyone.
The last time I saw fertilizer was probably when I was writing Agric in work. And that was before Nigerian independence.
Oh, wow. That's a really long time ago. Okay, so we're going to be taking a bit of a break in a minute. We're going to speak to people and ask what their opinions are about GMO foods and organic foods. What do people on the street think about it and what do they prefer? We'll take a break and we'll be right back after this.
I would always prefer the very natural food. But I've heard people say it is not much different from the natural food. It's a way of increasing food production. It's a way of ensuring that food goes as far as possible. But beyond that, personally, I would always advocate for fresh, natural foods.
Because nowadays in the market, we don't know the kind of foods we eat. To a large extent, we know that these foods are in the market, but we are not conscious of it because we don't know them. You cannot see them. You can't see DNA. It's only the physical food we can see.
From the way I hear experts are going against it, I think it's something that if we want to experiment, we need to look very well before we leap. Because I've heard that genetically modified foods may not really be healthy for us, and they contain all sorts of things, and you end up acquiring so many health problems.
We have not been able. Those who said it's good may have tried it, it may have worked, but I want to believe that no matter how good something is, there's always a side effect, though we don't know. So until it has been certified, until I have seen somebody who has taken it and can say that it's good and there's no side effect to it, then we may.
We should eat healthy, we should eat natural, and make our food as our medicine. If you make your food your medicine, then you will have very little or probably no need to visit the doctor frequently.
Organic food is much more better for our health than inorganic food, which you can relate to GMO, which is genetically modified.
We want to talk about rights, there are obligations. I'm not saying that this government is a saint, it's very far from it. But there are things that we can do to make it better, and that's the challenge I'm throwing to you. You don't want to build this nation? I don't know where else you want to go. If I had a choice, I'll come back. When I stand outside and I hear what you have to say about this country that I know that I can die for as one, then I'm really sad because you're young. You have education. You have tools. You have a huge future ahead of you. And you're condemning yourself before you started on that journey. So please don't do that. Please don't.
Okay, so that was what people think about GMO foods versus organic foods. We have our expert in the house, Doctor. How are you? Welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do? And then I have a question about definitions, because the name organic sometimes is being abused. People don't get the right definition or the right understanding of what true organic farming or organic food is.
Hi, I'm Dr. Stella Iwagu. I'm a nurse midwife and public health educator. I'm also a farmer. I'm an organic farmer. And the term GMO stands for genetically modified organisms. And plant is an organism, it's a living thing. So when you genetically modify it, you're trying to either remove negative attributes or add positive attributes. So you either want to increase color, make it more colorful, or you want it to be bigger, or you want it to resist certain pests or certain other disease conditions. Okay? So that's how science is trying to make things better. but sometimes with unforeseen negative consequences. We'll go deeper into some of those negative consequences. Even so, there is a plus and there is a minus. Organic farming is really more of a natural kind of farming where you do not interface with chemicals, where you do not use pesticides, where you do not use herbicides, where you do not use fertilizers, especially the inorganic kind of pesticides that are manufactured in labs that are often most times byproducts of petrochemicals. And all of these things have been shown to have negative consequences on our health. It contributes, so these chemicals contribute to high rates of cancers. They contribute to high rates of even modifying our neurons. They've been shown to modify even our genes, you know, causing a lot of inflammation. You see, conditions that were not familiar before are now common. We're having a lot more congenital malformation. The data there, babies are coming with different kinds of congenital malformations that we didn't have to, well, we're not having before, but those numbers are increasing. Those things are also contributing to severe levels of inflammation and gene transformation in our body. For example, you're having more people right now dealing with severe arthritis. People are not able to work. At 30s, 40s, they're practically crippled. And this is because of the high level of chemicals that we are taking into our systems. These things have severe consequences on our livers, on our kidneys. The high rate of kidney failures and transplants now was unheard of before now, when we were eating things that are more naturally grown. That's in terms of the crop. So in terms of animal production too, when you talk about organic, it's also really, you don't want to feed our animals with antibiotics. You don't want to feed them with grains that have been grown with fertilizers and pesticides, because these things stay in the food. So even when you feed it to your animal, it affects the outcome. Right now, we're having a lot of resistance to antibiotics. People have infections, and then you give them the same antibiotics, it's not working. When you look at the assay, you do an assay of people's blood, people's urine, it's loaded with a lot of chemicals that have no business being in our body. And it affects how we process even drugs when we're ill. Because once the bacteria are familiar with the antibiotics that are in your system, when you bring that same antibiotics to treat that bacteria, the bacteria is already familiar with the antibiotics, so it will not work. So you find us having to look for higher levels of antibacterial, higher levels of antibacterial, and that is really affecting even the health system. So one of the reasons I got into organic agriculture, before now I was very active in the area of right to health. I was focused on the outcome and how people are treated within the health system. But the health system can never improve until we improve our agricultural system, because you are what you eat. Over there in Western countries, they have the health system. If they come down with cancers, they can treat them with cancers. They can treat anything. The innovation is always ongoing. Even there, they are beginning to worry about the impact. It's overwhelming their budget. So here, we don't have the infrastructure. And then we keep on expecting miracles from doctors and nurses that are overwhelmed and overworked without the infrastructure that they need to work. So I could focus on just the health system, and I will never be able to make the impact that I'm hoping to make. So I had to pull back and say, why are our people so sick? One, if people are not eating well, their system will not be able to be right. Their immune system will be low, and then they will be sick. They will not be able to resist infection. But then I also looked at, what are people actually eating? So our people are eating food that are laden in chemical. When I came back from America, I saw every farmer carrying knapsacks. What's in the knapsacks? Chemicals. That most of them do not know how it works. There is no training on how it is used.
Doctor, sorry, I just see BJ Farms around. BJ, you can't be hiding under the camera. You have to walk right in and sit with us and have this conversation. You can sit here, it doesn't matter. No, just move on and be comfortable with yourself. All right, sorry, I had to
Hello,
cut
sir.
you.
No problem, no problem. The more the merrier.
And the more the merrier, yes.
But, Nike, actually, as she was talking, I was actually wondering, a bit of stuff. A lot of times, like last week, I was listening to your show. I heard somebody said some of these things are drawn from the insects.
Yes.
The DNA of insects, modified and put into the food to eat. And the gross, target is to create more food, make more food available. And I kept wondering, I don't know the DNA of mosquito, for instance. I don't know the DNA of ants. I don't know the DNA of the weevil. But you take their DNA and put into the food and I eat. How does it relate with my cognitive functions, for instance? I'd like you to look at that for me.
Yes, they are well-intentioned, so we don't demonize them. The scientists that are developing this, they are well-intentioned. The idea is, if we put this within the plant, it's in such a way that if the insect, the weevil, eats it, then they will either die or they will have an aversion to eating that food. So the idea is to make the food unpalatable for the weevil or for the insect, okay? But there are unforeseen consequences that are not completely studied. Just like when fertilizer came, it was like a miracle. It was the answer to everything. When
We're no longer using fertilizers?
well, not to the degree we didn't foresee, because the research have shown that those that are consuming food that has a high load of chemical in them are sicker. And we've also seen wrongful application of fertilizers in our soil actually harm the soil, because it's not just killing it. It's not just killing only including the pesticides and herbicides. They're not only killing the bad things that we don't want, the pests. They're also killing the friendlies, because the quality of food you produce is dependent on the quality of the soil.
Yes, very
And the soil is not barren. The soil is a living thing. It has thousands and millions of living things in them that break down the organic things in the soil to be able to contribute to what we absorb.
Okay, Dr. Stella, we need to take a quick break. If you're just joining us, this is Conversations on NTA Network. Dr. Stella is going to take us to her farm. For those of you that live in cities, she's going to tell you exactly how to be an organic farmer in the city. We'll be right back after this.
The success of any gardening at all is dependent on the soil. So to get a good soil, we need to really have good compost. So there we have regular soil you can pick up from any garden, but we want the soil to be light because we don't want it to be thick. When it's thick, the plant's root can't move freely. So part of what we use to make the soil rich and light is our spent mushroom substrate, which is actually made from sawdust. So this bag used to have beautiful mushrooms shooting out of them, but now they are just plump. You can see some of the mushroom spawns still there. You can just go for healthy soil or get really organic manure. We also use rabbit urine. Can I have that, please? We also use rabbit urine. We'll grow rabbits here, and everything in rabbit is useful. The rabbit urine is full of nitrogen, which can help also support your plant. So you mix that in your water, and this is the life water that can support the life of your plant. So once you've mixed the soil, you fill it in the bag. You can see the bag we've already filled. And then you get your seedlings. So the seedlings in SD Farms we believe in recycling. So we use pure water bags, and we transplant. So can I have that mint over there? That's mint there. Yeah, and some plants can go together. So we've already put We've already put tomato in this bag, so we can also add mint to it. So mint and tomato can be good fellows. And as a matter of fact, it makes your plant really happy to have mint around it. Why? Because the mint has such a strong smell that it will repel any insect that comes to eat your tomato. We can also put some in the pepper here. We've already planted some really nice aromatic pepper. And inside the pot here, we have oregano, and we have some more pepper there. So whatever your space, there's nothing you cannot do with container gardening. If you can grow flowers in pots, you can grow food in pots. So SD Farms feeding the nation. SD Farms feeding the nation.
When there's a child out there that's not getting the same that your own child is getting, the difference will tell, and there will come a time in the society where that child is going to take his pound of flesh.
Where you can actually, everything from watching a program with the child, you can start up the conversation from something on the TV and say, oh, you know.
For me, it's like, hurry up with this business. And the other one said, Auntie, it's not about me, it's about the guys. They're not ready to marry.
Yes. See if she wants to ask something. No, I know my mother very well. In fact, the most interesting one is when I put up pictures on WhatsApp, you know, Snapchat filters and all that, she will call me, remove that picture. There was a day I got tired of all that and I said,
Welcome back. Conversations on NTA, and we're talking about organic foods, organic farming, organic feeding. We have Mr. Boma here, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his own style of farming. From what I hear, Mr. Boma, we can actually farm cassava in bags.
Yes.
That's possible?
Yes, it's possible. We not only can farm cassava in bags, we can also farm sweet potato, we can farm yams. Virtually all the crops, most of the crops we grow in Nigeria can be farmed in everybody's backyard in bags. And
That's
for us, we use the spent mushroom substrates.
Okay.
We use them as an organic growing medium in bags to grow all.
What do you mean by spent mushroom substrate?
I think it was in that video I saw earlier.
Oh, okay.
Mushroom grow on substrate. Mushroom does not grow on a normal soil.
Right.
Okay, now this substrate is very organic and very rich. And when the mushroom, when you've reached the peak of the mushroom production, that substrate, that bag in the substrate is said to be spent. It's like when you have spent chicken.
This spent is like it's being used.
It's been used. The mushroom has used up what it needs.
Okay, has used up what is
exactly.
And it's not fruiting anymore.
Exactly. Right. It's like an old woman who can no more have children.
Okay.
We're not spent.
No, we cannot be spent too. We cannot.
Okay, what about old man? That is why we are most active.
An old man who is spent.
There's a biological age where they say women can't have children anymore.
But they are not still spent.
No, it's not spent.
That's still not spent. Wrong analogy. Agree. Take that back.
Okay, I withdraw.
Please do.
All Nigerian women, please forgive me. Okay. When you grow mushroom on bags, on those substrates, you get to the peak of production where the substrate is spent.
Okay.
And it's no more useful for growing mushroom, but it has many other uses. And one of the uses is that it becomes a growing medium for every crop and vegetable.
Okay.
And a broad array of all the crops, the principal crops, can be grown on those substrates in another bag. Including all the veggies, all the veggies, most fruits and crops, including sweet potato, cassava, yams, etc., including corn, can be grown on those bags.
So tell us a bit about your own specialty. What I know you do mushrooms. I know you also grow cassava. What would you say is your strength in organic farming?
Well, we started first by growing all our own vegetables that we consume in our house using the spent substrate. Once you grow mushroom and you grow it commercially like I do, we grow in. We started with 10,000 bags. Now we are targeting to hit 1 million bags.
Wow.
So when you are doing that kind of scale,
that's a lot of mushrooms.
When you do that kind of scale, your spent bags, the quantity, it's commercial. So you need to begin to look for commercial application for your spent bags. So that's why we now went into commercial organic farming. Right. So we can grow vegetables, grow specialized fruits and crops using our spent bags for the market.
I'm glad you talked about commercial organic farming. Is that really a thing, and how accepted is it here in Nigeria?
Well, organic farming is going back to nature. Organic farming is growing your crop without harmful agrochemicals, without harmful pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers. Everything is natural. So it's very healthy, and it gives you all the benefit of growing engaging in productive agriculture, but without all the unintended and unwanted health and medical side effects. Like cancer is on the increase because of the amount of very harmful pesticide and agrochemical residues in virtually every food we eat in Nigeria. Too many people are now dying young. Too many health issues are arising from consumption of heavily contaminated foods, vegetables, fruits, and all the core food we eat in Nigeria. This can be mitigated if Nigeria promote by legislature the limiting of agrochemicals, and also at the same time increase the awareness and encouraging people to go back to organic farming in their backyard.
You know, he's talking, I'm actually kind of scared, because it's like we can't even trust the things in the market anymore. So how can I identify, the one that is organic? This granite is here. Is it organic? You're eating it. Is it for the taste? Since you're eating, is it organic?
You can't always tell. But if you are meticulous with your taste bud, for example, when the woman that sell in the market comes to the farm to buy our ugu, they know that when you buy our ugu, they can keep it 5 days. It's still nice and fresh. But the one that they get that are planted with all those fertilizers and chemicals, within 2 days, it's rotted and wilted.
Wow.
The same thing with the tomatoes, so that could be your test.
Wow.
You can use that to say, okay, put this here and put that.
Come
to our farm, buy something. No, come to our farm, buy our products, go to the market, buy what you get. Just keep them under the same condition and see the outcome. Then those that sell also have been able to tell us that our vegetables are tastier. But they said that our vegetables are tastier. And I've also seen a lot of, the other day I was eating garden egg, because really you can't run away from it. They're all over the place, and you can't grow everything by yourself. And you can't guarantee that what you're eating is, whether it's organic or inorganic. But that day I bought garden egg, I was eating it, it was completely tasteless. These days you buy corn, you buy corn, and you can't even find the pleasure and real flavor when you eat corn that is grown in an organic way. It is so, the sugar is nice and it is delicious. It may not be huge, but it is delicious. The same thing with the tomato. They may not be huge, they might not be blemish-free, but they are delicious. Because all of these whole things that I with, people wanted their food to look perfect.
Yes.
We have these apples right now. If you know the amount of chemical that is on this apple, you probably won't even eat apple again. Seriously. Sometimes they have to coat it. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sometimes they have to coat it with something that will make it shiny. Keep this apple now. The next 1 week, this apple will still be sitting down here shining. That's not normal. That's not natural. So I've given the example.
Now, how is it supposed to be after 1 week, ordinarily?
It begins to decompose.
Oh, probably change color?
Yes.
Okay.
But most of the apples, they use paraffin. you know, because they want it to,
wax,
or wax, yeah, paraffin is a kind of wax. They have to coat it, and sometimes you could actually scrape it out. That's why I say when you buy apple, wash it with sodium bicarbonate and hot water, you know, or use soap and wash. Yes, because you can't run away from chemical completely, so we need to learn how to mitigate it.
Okay.
Baking soda is very good. Take some baking soda, put it in water and melt it, you know, and then soak your vegetables. So what it does, it draws out those chemicals. Then you bring it out, rinse it, and then rinse it again with plain water.
We used to use salt those days.
Back then.
Well, what salt does is kill microorganisms. But salt cannot remove the chemical that are in the products.
So I can combine
the
it
residue.
I can combine it
Of course you can. So there are a lot of chemical residue that are in the food that we are eating. So it's really important we take our time to wash up those residue. Same thing like beans. You know, people need to parboil beans before. No, but when you start parboiling, you really sink in the chemical deep into the beans. So what you do, boil the water, put a little bit of sodium bicarbonate or salt, pour it in there, rinse it, and take it out. Pour that water out before you now start cooking your beans.
Okay.
Same thing with, go ahead.
Doctor, what are your thoughts on manure? Because I'm under the opinion that it decomposes very slowly. So versus using like the mushroom substrate that you mentioned.
Manure, okay, your manure has to be treated.
Okay.
Whether it's chicken manure,
manure,
animal dung.
Okay.
And for crying out loud, human dung too. You know, I'm looking for the time.
Did you say human dung?
Yes, ma'am.
We can use that.
I'm looking for.
He's
Are you not an animal?
I'm not an animal.
We're all animals. All waste. See, life is a circle. Life is a circle. We are dust. You know, we are maggots. You know, so all of those things break down and contribute to the circle of life. You know, I told somebody when I'm there, just cremate me and plant a mango tree and put my ashes there. So when you come, you can see the beautiful mango tree. Because eventually the trees, no matter how deep they bury us, the roots will still meet us there, and we'll feed the trees. So the manure can be, if you don't treat the manure, it can lead to infection. Because animals have the infection, humans have the infection, and they're all there in the poop. But when you treat it, one way we can treat it is through composting, especially when we do hot composting. When we compost it, you know, you put it together, put some greens and some manure and everything and cover it. You know, if you heap it high, you cover it. Nothing can live in the temperature that you generate. So it burns it, you know, so we even add some lactic acid, you know, some lactic acid bacillus, so some natural bacteria that can actually help to heat it up and break it down. So when you take the dung directly and apply it, the nitrogen level will even burn your crops.
Oh, really?
Yes, it will burn your crops. It needs to be treated. So the treating and the composting, because there is high level of nitrogen and ammonia in most of this dung. So when you apply it fresh, it will just eat up your plants. It will break down. So you can't apply raw manure to your plant. So for one reason, the nitrogen and chemical level is too high. It will kill your plant. Another reason, if there's an infection there, it will also continue to spread. So you want to treat it through composting.
But if I can't treat manure on my own or in my house, is it okay to buy it from the roadside gardeners?
Yes,
is that treated?
Yes, usually it goes through the composition. And why can you not treat manure? You just get a bin and put it and cover it and allow it to sit. And then turn it every 3 to 4 days and it will decompose. We shouldn't, you know, I tell people what we're doing with waste. We take our money, we put it inside those bin. Then we call somebody, pay the person to come and carry our waste, our money, and throw it away in city trash. Then we go to the market and buy back our money. That's what we're doing. So all the garden waste, all the kitchen waste, put them in a container and they begin to decompose. So we actually have small decomposers. All our people that are looking for employment opportunity, we can get our fabricators to begin to fabricate composting bins. So just a little bin that has something you can use to turn it so that you don't have to start dealing with. And then make sure it's covered so you don't have to deal with the smell.
Okay.
So once you finish composting that, then you take a little bit of soil and add the compost to it, and you have your garden mat. You have your planting material, your planting medium, and then you can use that to grow all your plants. So we shouldn't be, each time I see the city waste, I'm angry. I'm so angry because, you know, it's such an opportunity that, one, we're spreading disease, it's an eyesore, yet we can convert practically everything that is in that dump, including the nylon bags, can be converted into something useful. People are building houses with nylon. You can make pavements, you know, reinforce soil with those plastic that you burn them and reinforce them, and you can actually have paved things you can use to pave your yard. Yes, when I was building my garden, you know, all those gullies, the farm used to be like a refuse dump. You know, when you're not around, they turn your compound into a dumping ground. So all the refuse, all the plastics, I just used them to fill the gully. You know, I didn't have to buy stone. So by the time I burnt the nylons, they clump, right? They become firm, like stone. Then I used that to fill the gully and then got the topsoil and covered it. And that is how we're working on it. Erosion can carry it. So everything can be put to use.
Okay. Mr. Poma, you mentioned legislation and the move for commercial organic farming, but what about the catch them young approach? Are you working with any organizations, or are you doing that personally to ensure that our younger generation are aware about the benefits of organic farming?
Well, we have a youth mentoring program.
Okay.
Where we mentor young people for free. We train them on the rudiments of organic farming. But beyond that, we also have a number of organizations in Nigeria that are now saddled with the responsibility for certifying products, farm products, to certifying them as organic. Because she asked, how do I know this food I'm about to eat is organic?
I wanted to take this apple, now I'm scared.
Exactly. So to give consumer confidence that what they are eating is natural, will not give them sickness, will not lead them to early premature death. You now have certifying bodies. One of them is called NISAT, Nigerian Certification Organization. It gives consumers, not only in Nigeria, but also consumers outside Nigeria, that the product you are importing from Nigeria has been certified by an independent, recognized body as meeting all the requirements for a safe food, a certified organic food. So it's a movement that is growing.
It's growing.
It's growing every day. As awareness increases, the demand from consumers for safer food is leading to a new paradigm shift, a shift from the agriculture as we know it to organic agriculture.
You know, before you came in, I was telling Nick how I tried to plant a bit of vegetables. You know, a lot of them did well, but two in particular didn't do. I think I actually called you to complain about it. The broccoli and the cauliflower, it didn't do well. And a lot of us, not specialists, we had lots of reasons why it didn't grow. Some said I didn't put it close to the light. I don't know if it's a reason. Or some other person said the air was stifling or something. I don't know. Why didn't my broccoli? Another person told me it's because it's Englishman food. I didn't want to forget that. So why didn't it grow well?
Okay. I want the viewers to understand that agriculture is a science. Because it's a science, it must follow protocols. Every crop in agriculture has a protocol for planting. They also call it best practice. So when the best practices are not followed, you don't get satisfactory results. So if we go through the protocols for planting broccoli, you'll see that you missed 1, 2, 3 steps. So if you go back your protocols and see the steps you missed and you correct them, your broccoli will do so well. It will no more be because it's an English crop.
So is it well? I have to do formula.
No, it's not just that. There are certain plants that prefer certain conditions.
Yes.
That's the best practice.
That's what you're talking about. Yes. So that's what you're talking about, the Englishman crop. because they like temperate weather. If you plant broccoli where it is very hot, they won't do well.
Okay.
That's why you see broccoli and cauliflower, they do better in Jos. Because the temperature there is cooler. So if you put your broccoli in a greenhouse where you can control the amount of light and the amount of heat that it gets, you see that it will also do very well. The same thing with tomato.
It's my bloody balcony. Greenhouse.
So don't. It's not your fault that it didn't do well.
Yeah.
It's just the temperature.
Yeah, so that's what we mean by protocols.
Okay.
Protocols means for any crop to grow, you
Amount
require
of
the
water.
right light,
Amount of light,
the right
amount of
temperature, humidity,
humidity.
including even CO2.
Okay.
So
CO2 is what? Okay,
Carbon
water.
carbon dioxide.
Oh,
Too many things affect the growth of plants. So all of those things that needs to be controlled to ensure the maximum productivity of any plant or crop is what they call protocols. So they say to grow broccoli or to grow pepper, you need to maintain these conditions. Those conditions that has to be maintained before the crop yields to you its maximum productivity is what they call protocol.
okay. Against this background, now I'm wondering, you talked about using, and you also demonstrated using the spent mushroom stuff.
Substrate, yeah.
You know, to grow your plants. Against what you just said now, can I use the same spent mushroom stock to plant everything?
Most things, not
everything.
all, but most things.
Most things, yes, but not everything. Because certain things require certain kind of soil. Let me tell you the lesson I learned the hard way. I love my herbs. Lavender, particularly lavender, rosemary, thyme. I planted them so many times. Why wouldn't this thing work? What am I not doing right? So what had happened? Those crops require rocky, sandy soil.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay? They require rocky, sandy soil. So when you plant it in substrate, it will not do well because the substrate retains water.
Okay.
So they don't like too much water. So too much water will lead to root rot. The root will rot, and you won't get good. I mean, I learned that lesson the hard way.
Okay.
So I just right now replanted all my herbs, and I don't want too much water. I actually had to go look for rocky soil. To amend the soil. Certain plants need.
When you say rocky soil, is it something like sandy soil?
Not just sandy, sand plus rock. You know, because they want to drain. They don't like water. That's why you see them thrive in mountain sides. Then there are also certain plants that like alkaline soil. And there are certain plants that like acidic soil. So it's important sometimes when your plant is not doing well, you need to know why it's not doing well. So you need to test the soil to be able to ensure that you're giving it the right. So that if your soil is too alkalinic, and that's a plant that likes acidic soil, there are certain things you can do to amend the soil to make it more acidic or more alkaline. You see, our grandparents sometimes they will carry ashes. They will carry ashes, you know, and make it look like big science. I said, our parents, our grandparents are amazing scientists. It's just that they couldn't give us the chemical name or the rationale behind what they're doing. But now, the more I'm learning about the science of planting, the more I adopt my heart for my grandmother. Who really, and my mother. You see, when they carry all those ashes from the kitchen and don't spray it in the pepper farm and all that, they're actually trying to make the soil more alkalinic. And it also helps to repel certain insects. You know, the ordinary come and eat your pepper.
All right, we have some messages that have come in. Boma Anga, please, how do I get to see you or communicate with you? Dr. Sylvia, please, how do I meet you? Because I want to learn more.
Well, I know give them my number. They can
we have permission to give out the number.
Okay, all right. Okay, so for the average Nigerian, with the average Nigerian climate, what would you recommend? Because there are people watching us and saying, okay, I want to get started. What crops, you know, rather than go down this lavender route, rather than go down that route, what would you recommend? The easy, because I've had to Google that sometimes.
It's pretty easy.
Scent leaf, okay.
Ugu, everybody can plant ugu. Put your ugu. You know, just telling people, cucumber is awesome. We all eat cucumber. You can put your cucumber in a bag, put it against the wall, because I say sometimes the horizontal space is limited, vertical space is limitless. You can put it, put it in a bag against all that your ugly-looking fence, and then let the rain crawl off your fence. Just put nails and put a rope and your ugu can climb on walls, your cucumber can climb on walls, all those ones that can trail on the walls.
Okay.
And in my garden, actually put shelves. You can put shelves and put a box. And so even little spaces, you can have 2-3 shelves level.
Okay.
And then you put planting boxes and brace it very well. And plant your water leaf can be on planters. Your oregano can be on planters. Most of those herbs that don't have deep roots or don't grow very tall can be on planters.
Okay.
You understand? And you can have multiple plants growing in one box. You can have planter boxes. I don't know if you showed it. I had boxes that are built, and then you fill it up with soil. There's not any plant that the root goes more than 4 feet deep. And then you can plant your tomato, you can plant your pepper, you can plant your water leaf, you can plant your mint. When I was explaining, sometimes companion gardening actually helps the plant thrive. Some plants are deep feeders, like ugu, the root goes way deep. And some plants are top feeders, like water leaf. They don't go deep, so you can combine them. Some plants can trail, so your ugu is going up, and your mint can be growing down.
Okay.
You know?
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So,
So,
really,
Mr. Boma,
so it's almost like having a bouquet of different plants growing together in one place.
Mr. Boma, because onions is universal. We all use onions.
Plant onions.
So would you prefer, or would you suggest that I plant the red onions or spring onions? Which one is faster?
Well, it depends on your preference. Because
all
you need to
onions.
ask yourself,
What do
the
you want?
onions I'm
Or do I
planting,
want
is
them
it for my consumption exclusively or is it also for the market?
No, for myself.
So then your preference.
Okay.
It's your preference.
But which one grows, I mean, which one takes a longer time to grow? Is it the spring onions or the red ones?
The red onions are very quick. There are new varieties that they've even shortened the growing.
Okay.
the
These
growing
new
time.
varieties,
Yes.
they're not GMO.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say anything new. Everyone is skeptical of, yes.
Yeah, but I want to quickly add that there is a new trend in agriculture, and it's called urban farming.
Urban farming.
Vertical farming.
Okay.
Everybody now realize that the future for agriculture, because as population surge and land become more and more scarce, the only way the world can feed herself is to rethink agriculture. Okay. So soilless farming is becoming the norm, and that's where the spent bags comes back again. Once you've composted those your spent bags, you can do vertical
You're not
farming.
limited to bags.
Yes, and the beauty is that all the major food we eat in Nigeria can fit into that paradigm.
Okay.
All the major food. Is
Okay.
it beans? Is it...
We still have some more messages
sweet
coming in.
potato?
Nice show. Continue in the great work. Those are very experienced farmers. Please, I need some examples of GMO foods. Dr. Stella, would you want to?
Almost all
Pick on
foods
that?
have a GMO version.
Okay.
Like tomato, you know, when you see all those big giant tomatoes.
Which is what we look out for when we go to
You
market.
wanna look
That's
for
what
the
I'm
perfect
looking
big.
for. The
You know, there are
perfect
GMO
looking.
peppers, there are GMO tomatoes, there are GMO
Well,
green
because we
beans,
want
there are
specific.
GMO. So almost all, even there are GMO cassavas,
Yeah.
there are GMO maises. That I mean, there's practically everything. And one of the things is, actually, one of the things that many farmers that want to empower local communities scream about is that some of these seeds, when you take the seed and you plant it and it gives you this, and you see this big giant tomato, take the seed from that tomato and plant it, you will not get the same result.
Oh, wow.
You will not even get any tomato at all.
Wow.
Because it is modified in such a way that you have to keep buying the seed from the manufacturer.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
and that is not empowering. Then after a while, you can't even plant anything again until you go and get it from the person that modified it.
For cassava, common food that are GMO currently, the TME varieties of cassava.
TME?
TME.
Okay.
TM, is it the Jabu Gari?
The most popular one is 419.
419.
There's a cassava variety, Okoyawo, 419. All these
You
are
know that?
genetically
No, I
modified.
don't.
Well,
just
you-
hearing it
once
You know, farmers now,
everybody
you
hear
want to know.
Okoyawo, you already know the variety of
Oh,
cassava.
okay.
And it's the most common one. Virtually 80% of the gari we eat come from
GMO.
those varieties.
Okay.
And they are GMO.
Right.
TME
You can
419.
run away from it completely.
And then the rice,
Don't
the
want it to
popular
overtake.
rice you eat, Nerika,
Yes.
the long grain rice,
Yes.
is also GMO.
You mean foreign rice?
Is it
It's not
GMO
foreign
or
rice, it's the rice
is
you
it
eat here.
GMO or hybrid? Because I
No.
remember
Yes.
last year
Genetically
somebody,
modified.
Whether you call it hybrid or low breed, how did it become hybrid? It's because they modified it.
in such a way to bring out the best of it, those things that we are looking for.
Okay.
Do you understand? So either they make it grow faster, you know, everybody, oh, can I have the one that, no, we don't want it 6 months. We don't want 1 year.
Yeah, we're actually out of time, and we have so many questions coming in. And this topic, honestly, I'm hoping that we can treat it again in a different perspective. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Mr. Boma, and to Elizabeth, and to all. I just did that. And to all our viewers who joined us in the Conversations Room today, we'll see you yet another time where we talk about something even more interesting. See you again, and goodbye.
From dusk to dawn.